Hi guys, welcome back to another Hugh video. In this video, I'm going to be restoring this Apple Watch Series 4 44mm. I purchased this watch used in its current condition. It appears the last owner has somehow cracked the display, likely when putting on the watch. A damaged Apple Watch can be much cheaper than buying one in good condition. So, can you save some money by fixing up a broken one? Well, let's find out. I purchased this one for 157 Australian dollars, which was more than what I was wanting to pay for the device. However, I couldn't find any cheaper ones at the time. It does come with its original box. However, after unpacking it, you can see it's missing the box containing the band. Opening up the main box, you can see we do have a magnetic band, charging cable, power brick, and the watch itself. Pulling it out of its protective microfiber sleeve, I'm going to power it up to ensure it's actually still working and will connect to an iPhone. In the About section, you can see it requires an iPhone running iOS 12.0 or later. So I grabbed an iPhone 10 running iOS 12.4.1 to connect the watch to. However, Apple isn't allowing me to use the watch, as this iPhone isn't running the latest iOS version. I have faced this very issue in the past. This is because the watch is running a newer update than the phone. As you can't update stock apps on iOS, the two just don't work together. While I don't have a 5S to test this watch, I believe it also wouldn't work as the software is updated on the watch. And I think that makes the box misleading. So I had to grab an iPhone 11 Pro Max on iOS 13. This time, the watch completed setup. While the display is cracked, the OLED screen and touch are still working, so you could get away with using the watch as is, if you don't mind getting glass in your fingers. This is a 16GB model on watchOS 6.2.8. So it's time we remove the bands, shut down the watch, and begin work. I have purchased a new display, force touch gasket, and the necessary adhesive to attach the display. The Force Touch gasket is optional, however I recommend getting one just in case it gets damaged during the screen removal process. I'll start by placing the watch on a heat plate at 80 degrees for a couple of minutes. This will soften the adhesive around the display, which will help assist us remove our old cracked screen from the watch. I'll also apply some adhesive to my desk so I'm able to stick the watch in place whilst I'm working on it. I'll start by using this blade to be able to get underneath the original display panel. With the heat having softened the adhesive, this was actually quite easy. However, you don't want to dig too deeply with this, as you could damage internal components, including the display's fragile ribbon cables, if you are attempting to salvage the display panel from an existing watch. As mine is cracked, I don't have to worry too much, although the display cables attaching to this screen are soldered to the logic board of the device, so it's important not to damage those whilst removing the screen. Using a plastic pick helps minimize any damage that could be caused easily when using the blade. With our screen separated, I'll flip the watch upside down, where I can begin removing this shielding from the back of the display. It's thinner than a millimeter and adhered into place, which makes it hard not to damage. I initially thought this was an antenna, however from what I can find online, it's only shielding or grounding for the watch. Which means if you put a bit of a rip in it like I did, or it just gets really crinkled, you should still be fine. Underneath are the three important display cables. There is no connector on the other end of these, they're directly soldered onto the watch, so it's really important that you don't damage them whilst removing the screen. After peeling back a good portion of this shielding, I decided to just pull up on it and it removed quite easily. I also found this red piece of plastic floating inside the watch that's not supposed to be there. With the old screen removed, I'll need to get all of the old glass shards and any of the old adhesive that was used to stick down the old screen out of this watch so we can prep it to install our new one. I'll use some tweezers and a spudger to scrape away all of this mess. If you're careful in the removal of the display, you may be able to reuse the Force Touch gasket, which is this black piece running around the perimeter of the watch. It is stuck down and connected with one cable, so don't worry if it breaks, as it's easy to replace. In my case, I was able to keep it intact and won't need this replacement one. What I will need though is new adhesive to go on top of this Force Touch gasket. Positioning it into place, I can use a spudger to firmly attach the new adhesive. This step is vital not only to ensure the display stays attached, but the device can still remain water resistant. If any remaining glass or other protrusions stop the adhesive from sealing the device, it will become susceptible to water. With the seal attached, it's time to get our new $289 display attached. Displays for Apple Watches are extremely overpriced. Taking a look at this one, you can see part of the display is also translucent. Laying the display onto the table, I will attach the 3 display cables back into place. This can be a bit finicky given the length of the display cables is quite short, so I found it best to attach one cable at a time, locking each cable into position before moving on to the next one. This ensures the previous cable doesn't come unplugged whilst connecting the next one. After the 3 cables are attached, I pressed and held the power button and found that the watch wasn't powering on, so I performed a hard reset with the watch still showing no signs of life. A little bit nervous, I threw it onto the charger to see if that would make any difference. Luckily, the Apple Watch sprung into life and booted up just fine. While I'm not sure what's causing this, I had a similar experience with the iPhone 12 after I placed its display. It also wouldn't boot up until I connected the charger. Once it was on, I could test out our new display, ensure that touch and force touch is working as it should. So it's now time to seal up our new display panel. I'll try to reattach this shielding as best I can, but you can see it's a little bit crinkled, but it should do just fine. Before we seal down the display, this is our final look inside the Apple Watch Series 4. After which I can remove the protective film over the adhesive before we finish off this Apple Watch by sealing down its display. Carefully pressing it into position and applying firm, even pressure over the display to ensure correct alignment and a good seal between the screen and frame. All that's left to do is to remove the plastic protective film from the display, reattach the band, and we're done. So this is it. A once smashed Apple Watch is now in a fully working state once again, right? Not quite. See, after replacing the display, Apple's software disables Apple Pay. On setup of the watch, it gets stuck or shows an error, and in the iOS Watch app, it states an error has occurred while setting up Apple Pay. After looking into this issue, it isn't due to any mistake in my repair job or issues with the replacement parts used. Other people have experienced the same issue when the display is replaced. This even happened to a Series 3 Apple Watch I repaired. Apple locks the NFC antenna to each watch. That antenna is located on the back of each display. There has been people who have successfully transferred the NFC antenna from the old screen to the new one, although given how expensive this display was, I didn't attempt it. Is this done for security, or is this another attempt to stop third-party repairs? Let me know what you think down in the comments. According to this article I found on Macworld, Apple doesn't repair damaged Apple Watch screens. They just send you a replacement and recycle the old one. So yet again, I feel as though I don't really own this watch. I purchased it and should be allowed to fix it if I so please, but that's just not the case. That being said, all other functions I tested are still working. So, was it worth fixing up a broken Apple Watch? Unfortunately not. The replacement display almost costs as much as a used working device, and with the software disabling one of the most used features after repair, it becomes less useful. If Macworld was correct and Apple doesn't repair Apple Watches, why can't third parties? If we can't retrieve full functionality after a repair, this can cause an otherwise working device to just become e-waste instead of being repaired. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button and consider checking out the restoration playlist for more videos just like this one. And if you're looking for any tips or what tools I use to repair devices, be sure to check out my website, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.